Coming up on today's edition of Airborne, David Riggs' NTSB hearing is embroiled in controversy. AIG is planning to sell 90% of its International Lease Finance Corporation, and the X37B is back once again in space. I'm Ashley Hale. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. Well, as this edition of Airborne went into production, David Riggs' hearing before the NTSB had moved into its second day, with Riggs' attorney trying to mount a defense against the Emergency Revocation Order, which was issued by the FAA ordering Riggs to surrender his pilot certificate. The session opened amid allegations that Riggs had committed witness intimidation when he had his attorney send letters to and file suit against 3 of the FAA's witnesses, only 48 hours prior to the start of the hearing. Once before the judge, the FAA's counsel, Naomi Suda, wasted no time in pressing that issue. Judge Patrick Garrity agreed, saying that he was, quote, distressed by the filing of the lawsuit and that he felt documents sent to several witnesses were, quote, threatening in its tone, end quote. Riggs' troubles with the FAA and the NTSB stem primarily from an accident which occurred on May 18th. He allegedly operated an experimentally certificated aircraft on 3 separate passenger-carrying flights for compensation or hire, when he was aware that he was not allowed to conduct such flights. One of the 2 L-39 aircraft being flown that day crashed and killed the pilot, a Riggs associate, and the passenger. Riggs had claimed the flights were legal as they were being conducted under a cinematic waiver, but the FAA has already dismissed that claim in previous actions. Riggs claimed the passengers, who are now witnesses in the case, knew the sole purpose of the flights was for a film production, though a great deal of evidence suggests otherwise. The hearing was scheduled for 2 days, but Riggs' attorney asserted it could take as long as 4 days or more. We just got some late-breaking news on Riggs' NTSB hearing. Jim Campbell is here to give you the details.
Thanks, Ashley. Hey, folks, sorry to break in on you here, but we just wanted to update you. We have received confirmation that NTSB Administrative Law Judge Patrick Garrity has upheld the FAA's Emergency Revocation Order against David Riggs. That's it. And barring an emergency appeal at the last minute, for which he's only got a couple of days to work with, he's grounded for at least a year. After a 2-day hearing, Riggs' lawyers not only failed to provide a convincing defense for the Aero combat, but it appears that Riggs' legal counsel upset the judge on several occasions, even getting yelled at, apparently, and had to be warned several times that actions he was undertaking in Riggs' defense were not going to be tolerated. There also appears to be significant interest in undertaking further investigations into suspicions that Riggs tampered with witnesses that testified against him via lawsuits and correspondence sent to them less than 24 hours before the hearing. Garrity labeled the alleged attempt to intimidate those witnesses a quote, unconscionable action, unquote. We'll have more for you in the next edition of Airborne. There's going to be a lot more to say after this is all well and done. But the FAA tells us they're confident in their case. They're pleased that the judge agreed with them, and so are we. For the Aero-News Network, Aero-TV, and Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell.
American International Group and an investor group led by Mr. Weng Xianding, the chairman of New China Trust Company Limited, announced Sunday that they have entered into an agreement under which AIG will sell up to a 90% stake in International Lease Finance Corporation, a non-core asset to the investor group, in a transaction that values ILFC at approximately $5.28 billion. The investor group, comprised of New China Trust Company Limited, China Aviation Industrial Fund, and P3 Investments Limited, has agreed to acquire 80.1% of ILFC for approximately $4.23 billion, with an option to acquire an additional 9.9% stake. ILFC is a leading independent aircraft lessor with a global customer base of approximately 200 airlines in 80 countries. ILFC's portfolio consists of over 1,000 owned or managed aircraft, as well as commitments to purchase 229 new high-demand, fuel-efficient aircraft and rights to purchase an additional 50 such aircraft. The transaction is subject to required regulatory approvals and is expected to close in the second quarter of 2013. America's space plane is back where it belongs, in space. The U.S. Air Force successfully launched its X-37B orbital test vehicle on a return to space on Tuesday, December 11th. The launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida's Launch Complex 41 is a repeat trip to space for OTV-1, and it comes on the heels of the successful flight of OTV-2, which made an autonomous landing at Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, June 11th, after a record 469 days in space. The X-37B orbital test vehicle is led by the Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office and is designed to demonstrate reusable spacecraft technologies for America's future in space and operating experiments which can be returned to and examined on Earth. Officials anticipate multiple missions will be required to satisfy the test program objectives, but the exact number of missions has not yet been determined. Avionics company NavWorks says its universal access transceiver, delivering the benefits of next-gen air transportation technology to general aviation aircraft, is fully operational, and the company expects TSO certification soon. The company's flagship product, the ADS-600B, is a single device that both transmits and receives critical flight data and information services into the cockpit. Pilots can choose from a variety of options to display this data, including panel-mounted or portable devices. The ADS-600B is designed to meet the FAA's 2020 mandatory compliance requirements for ADS-B equipage. NavWorks equipment is available today and can be installed on both experimental and certified aircraft. You're watching Airborne. More in a moment.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or podcast, drop us an email to news-by@aero-news.net. Following an 18-month test program that lasted 350 flight hours over 150 flights, Dassault says the Falcon 2000S will substantially beat its initial performance specifications when the airplane is certified, which is expected early next year. The jet demonstrated better than projected low-speed performance in particular. Launched in May of 2011, the Falcon 2000S brings a large cabin aircraft to the super mid-sized business jet market. The aircraft can carry 6 passengers 3,350 nautical miles at 0.80 Mach. According to the company, the Falcon 2000S will climb directly to 41,000 feet in 19 minutes, reach a mid-cruise altitude of 45,000 feet, and offer a certified ceiling of 47,000 feet. The Falcon 2000S will be able to access up to 50% more airports than any other business jet in its class. While the Navy may have beaten the Army for the 11th straight year last Saturday, but while those cadets and midshipmen were playing football, a group of Air Force Academy cadets were celebrating their own championship at what they do best, fly. Air Force Academy cadets soared to their 8th straight National Sailplane Racing Championship and their 14th in 18 years. The Soaring Society of America announced the team earned 6 SSA Collegiate Scholarship Awards and 17 youth distance records across 4 states, the most in Academy history. In another first for the Academy, all 6 cadets on the sailplane racing team earned gold badges through the International Air Sports Federation. To win the championship, cadets flew some of the longest flights in the team's 43-year history, with 4 flights of 320 miles or more. NASA announced Monday that it has selected 3 companies to conduct activities under contracts that will restore America's ability to launch crews to the International Space Station. The 3 companies are Boeing, Sierra Nevada Corporation Space Systems, and SpaceX. Each of the companies received awards of $9.5 to $10 million. The 3 companies will work with NASA to achieve the goal of safely and cost-effectively launching astronauts from home within the next 5 years, which will end NASA's reliance on Russia for such transportation services. During the Phase 1 of their contracts, from January 22, 2013 through May 30, 2014, the companies will work with NASA's Commercial Crew Program to discuss and develop products to implement the agency's flight safety and performance requirements. The second phase of the certification contract, expected to begin in mid-2014, will involve a full and open competition. It will include the final development, testing, and verifications necessary to allow crew demonstration flights to the space station. It's time for Jim Campbell's barnstorming commentary. Today, Jim remembers an amazing flyer on what would have been her 45th birthday.
Thanks, Ashley, and hi, folks. Let me depart from the politics for a little bit to do a little bit of memorializing, if you will. Some 2 decades ago, I met this amazing woman. So amazing that, well, I married her. And while the life we had expected did not turn out the way we would have liked, it certainly had its moments and was, in so many ways, the most amazing experience of my life. Today, as I record this, it's December 13th. It should have been her 45th birthday. Her name was Vicki. On one of our first dates, we went to fly her first aerobatics. Just had the time of our lives. I still remember to this day just blonde hair, upside down in an SF-260, dancing with the top of the canopy, and a giggle and a smile that just wouldn't quit. And in a number of years, she went on to take on aerobatics, become the president of the International Aerobatic Club, U.S. National Aerobatic Champion, member of the U.S. team. And unfortunately, nearly 3.5 years ago, she lost her life in competition. And while August 22nd, the day of her passing, has been just such a bad day in the past, right now what I really want to celebrate every December 13th is the start of what was an amazing life, an inspiration to me, an inspiration to so many people around the planet. To all the people she loved and affected. And for now, just simply say this. Happy birthday, little girl. We miss you more than we can tell you. You changed all our lives. They're better because you were here. And a little less now because you're not. For the Aero-News Network, Aero-TV, and Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell.
Finally, today on Airborne, after deciding he'd rather not have to walk 400 yards to the bus stop in December and January with his grade school-age son, Paul Wallich used his technical knowledge to build a camera-carrying quadcopter to follow his son to the bus stop. Wallich told his story to NBC News, which was relayed by the Huffington Post. Wallich wrote that the aircraft isn't a perfect solution. He said that a GPS tracker in his son's backpack is supposed to guide the quadcopter, but that sometimes trees and other obstacles get in the way. He also said that battery life can be an issue. For those reasons, he said he usually does the trip to the bus stop in person anyways. Wallich said he built the quadcopter out of off-the-shelf parts and used a smartphone with video chat for the communications link. We'll leave the comments on his parenting skills to those with more expertise in that field. Get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. And remember, Airborne is streamed twice weekly and is always online. Join us again next week. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.